What is going on, guys? It is 5:57 p.m. Thursday, August the 12th, 2021, and we have a negative COVID test as of this afternoon. I am the only one who's been tested so far. My wife should be tested tomorrow, and the kids have been good long before we were, so things are looking better on that front. I am back. I'm feeling way better, ready to start cranking out these videos again. So much has happened since I've been out. I don't even know where to begin, so we're just going to jump into some of the stuff that caught my eye today. There's a ton of stuff in between then and now that I'm probably missing. I apologize for that, but from this point on, we should be ready to crank. So we're going to start off with some just really brief TA. We got like 20-some days of, a raging bull market coming back into effect. We've exited the accumulation zone that I had mapped out anyway for Bitcoin. And what is interesting, and you're going to see this theme across the board, is a lot of these assets have jumped right up to the 618 region, which if you've been following my channel for a while or you watch any of the main TA guys that use Fibonacci levels like BC Backer, between the 618, the 702, and the 786 are very reactive levels for these assets. For most assets, for that matter. It's really crazy how they work. But I'm not going to get into all that, but this is something I pay a lot of attention to. So as you can see, we crept up here. We didn't really nail the 618, but as it approached, it kind of rolled back down and is sitting back down on this support. And hopefully we do build some support here because as you can see, just for a brief illustration here, at one point this did become support. And then we lost it here. And, now we're back fighting again. Let me go ahead and remove that from my chart. Moving on to Ether, we have a very similar situation here. This completely nailed almost to it. I mean, it's right there on the 618 before it came back down. It, again, looks like it might be building support right here at the 0.5. You're just seeing it a lot. The main chart that I look at is the total altcoin market cap. Now, before I had brought this back up here, I had been pulling from down in this range where you can see that we blasted through the 618, the 702, and did a full extension to the 1, and now that's where we are stuck. So I have went ahead and pulled my chart back up to here to where I usually look at it from anyway, and you can see I have the 618 through the 786 marked off in a box. This is a majorly reactive zone. I don't know if we're going to hit it in the next couple days or the next couple weeks. At some point, it is going to happen, though. That is my belief. History has shown that it will happen at some point. We're not here to make guesses on time, but this is something that does happen. One thing to watch out for, obviously nothing on this channel is financial advice, investment advice, tax advice, anything like that. Maybe some occasional life advice or some fantasy football advice, which there's going to be a little bit of that at the end because it is football season, guys. We have a preseason game. The Washington football team is going to dominate the New England Patriots, and it doesn't matter, but I'm still fired up because this is my time of year. This is a distraction that is much needed in my house. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. But my point is that as we approach this level, something that I am doing as a personal strategy is as we get into this range, I will probably take some minor profits across the board, roll them into stable coins in the case that this hits and then rolls back over on itself, which does happen a lot. It does happen a lot. And if that happens, we could be downtrending again into some consolidation and possibly even to a bear market. Now, with that being said, I don't believe that is what's going to happen. I don't feel that. That's not my actual prediction. My prediction is that we'll get in this range and fight for a little while, and then we're going up here. But in the case that is not what happens, I want to make sure that this is my own decision. I'm not telling you what to do. I want to make sure that I secure some profits from, way back in here, where I bought some stuff. That way, if we do end up with a big rollover and go down in here, it will put me in a prime position to reinvest some of those stable coins on the way back up whenever that may be. Going over here to the XDC chart, this is one I haven't talked about for a while. If you know me personally, I talk about it a lot, but I haven't covered it on the channel. There's just not enough information out there, and I'm not like a professional researcher. I'm good at getting on Twitter and going through my favorite websites and my favorite influencers and collecting data that way. But as far as, just digging into the internet's ass, that is not my thing. That's not what I'm good at. But as you can see with this chart, we had raged up to here. Now, to my knowledge, that should have been an all-time high right there when we hit there, because I believe the all-time high was in like the 14-15 range before. I could be wrong there, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. Does it say on here what the all-time high is? I don't know. Anyway, my point is XDC is performing extremely well. It is an ISO 2022 coin. Zenfin, they are partnered with R3. There's a lot of XRP collaboration that goes on in there. The trade finance with Trade Finex and all that stuff. In my opinion, not financial advice again, this is an extremely, I guess that's not the right way to say it. This is an asset that warrants some attention as far as research goes, and then make your own decision. But and you can see here, since we pulled this fib, look at this. Boom, 702. Rolls back down, boom, 702-618 battles it out, boom, comes back down, and here we are again blasting through the 786. So this thing looks like it is primed to go. We will see what happens with that. Stellar is down here battling its way back up, and as you can see, nailing the 618 and then getting rejected again, building support right below it. Pay attention to that. A lot of people think XLM will outperform XRP this year. I don't know that I feel that way, but I am all for it because I own plenty of this as well. Again, not financial advice, but if you know about XLM, Stellar is basically a clone of the XRP ledger. Jed McCaleb was a creator on both of them. Anything this guy touches either does well or everybody goes to prison except for him. It's one or the other pretty much. So, again, just pay attention to what's going on here. You're seeing this common theme. Everything's coming up into this range. H-bar, another one that I'm extremely bullish on, has continued to consolidate in this range. It's not something that really worries me. It's all-time. It's only about a year and a half old as an asset anyway, and its all-time high was right back here at 45 cents. So, you're about 50% down from that. Great entry point in my opinion. Again, not financial advice, but this is something, they are tied in with Boeing, LG, IBM, all kinds of big companies. The list has really expanded in the past months too. It's another one I do suggest looking up to all my fellow H-barbarians out there. Let's go. And then, of course, my favorite. Here we are with XRP. She has came up and smashed through the 618 and the 702 and the 786 all in one day, guys. This candle, it was an almost 19% rise in one day by the time it was over with. I mean, that's incredible. And you can see now where it's kind of came back down and it's floating around here right above the 702 in between the 786. If you notice too, it's forming bull flags on the way up. Bull flag, boom, bull flag, boom. And if this continues to form in the same way, it looks like another bull flag could be forming here. We'll see what happens. I'm extremely bullish on that, as everybody knows on this channel. Remember, bull markets come with grueling corrections, which we have behind us. We all know what just happened in the total altcoin market. I mean, we went from up here and did a major drop down into here, and everybody got out of crypto. All the crypto websites, traffic's low. Nobody's watching YouTube. Everything's slow as hell. That's about to change, guys. And now we are in one of the quick dips, which we are witnessing now. If you were paying attention to the market, it dropped down to 960 billion overnight. And here we are knocking right back on the $1 trillion mark again by the end of the day. That's a very bullish sign to me. Bitcoin enters institutional era as $1 million transactions starts to dominate, and this is according to Glassnode information. On-chain market analyst firm Glassnode says an increasing number of $1 million Bitcoin transactions is a sign of growing institutional involvement. Glassnode indicates that since September of 2020, the number of Bitcoin transactions worth over 1 million has shot up from nearly 1/3 to more than 2/3 of the total value of Bitcoin transferred. Since September 2020, the dominance of these large-size transactions has risen from 30% to 70% of the total value transferred. Transactions of less than 1 million in size have declined from 70% to around 30 to 40% dominance, so pretty much the inverse statistic. While the supply squeeze based on the STH supply ratio is not yet at 20%, there are numerous indicators and trends in play that suggest it may hit it in the mid-September. Mid-September seems to be a spot for a lot of these professional analysts where they think things are going to rip. Again, not financial advice, just something to pay attention to. Ethereum network congestion temporarily shuts down crypto gaming casino. Funfair Technologies' own King Tiger Casino is now on the lookout for new solutions for hosting a new range of features and games for its participants. We have had to temporarily close our casinos due to the Ethereum network congestion, making it impossible to run our games in their current format. You may keep any funds in there as long as you like or move them out to another ERC20 address as far as not keeping your stuff on there. One thing I have to say to you guys is Casino Coin that runs on the XRP ledger. You will not deal with the congestion. The fees are far lower. And it's a no-brainer. I hope some of the guys over Casino Coin have seen this article and reached out already. Shout out to everybody at Casino Coin Nation. I have missed you guys. A few of you guys even donated some XRP and some Casino Coin while I was down and out and couldn't work. You guys are greatly appreciated. I love the community. It's the little brother community of the XRP community, and it's now forming its own thing since it's made the switch, and I think it's fantastic. One of the best and most bullish assets, in my opinion, in the entire crypto space. Do your own research, of course. I have several videos dating back if you guys are interested in that. Blockchain file storage and the fight against ransomware. Let's be honest, there would not be so many ransomware attacks if cryptocurrency were not a thing. Just ask the U.S. Secret Service. The Senate Judiciary Committee recently held a hearing on the epidemic of ransomware, hackers locking up data and making computer systems useless until they get paid a hefty fee. In his testimony, Secret Service Assistant Director Jeremy Sheridan listed 3 reasons why ransomware has gotten so bad. His first reason, the swelling profitability of these attacks, in part as a result of the growth of cryptocurrency as a form of extortion payment. That ending of that is just stupid. It doesn't. I can see what you're saying in the beginning, but like this, it's so much easier to do stuff with cash anyway because you can get away with it. Cryptocurrency is tough but not impossible to trace and crosses borders with alacrity. And because of that, it gives cyber criminals a safer way to do bad things and get paid to stop. But what if cryptocurrency's handmaidens blockchains were also able to provide a new level of protection against the criminal industry? And they're basically saying that with decentralized storage, it would make the attack surface much more difficult to tackle from a bad guy perspective. It's not like having a classic storage unit you can simply encrypt because everything would be on chain. And there are several decentralized storage things that are raging now. I think StoreX is one of them that's pretty big. Immutable records. You can't get deleted. It could not be deleted. It's not 100% true. We have seen Ethereum now, paving the way, saying that they can go backwards and rewrite blocks if the entire network is on board with it and all that stuff. And that's me paraphrasing. I didn't understand that entirely, but that's the gist of it. So immutable, be careful with that word. That's yet to be seen. But yeah, I think this is great. Another one that nobody's really talking about right now that I read an article on the other day is blockchain being used for the U.S. voting system, which I think would be fantastic. You could use multi-sig and KYC technology to make sure that the vote casted by an individual was cast by that individual and it would not be able to be tampered with, which I think is a big deal for all of us. I think we could all agree that if there was transparency in these systems that we would all sleep better at night. Over half of the stolen funds that were hacked from the Poly network have now been returned. So just remember, they are able to go out here and get this stuff. I mean, it is very, very traceable. I'm not going to cover this article, but you saw how quickly they recovered all that Bitcoin in the so-called ransomware attack that happened a while back. Gary Gensler's response to Elizabeth Warren basically points out the need that the SEC does not have sufficient authority to regulate crypto or decentralized finance, and that is what he is looking for. In my view, the legislative priority should center on crypto trading, lending, and DeFi platforms. Regulators would benefit from an additional plenary authority to write rules for and attach guardrails to crypto trading and lending. Gary Gensler is proving not to be the savior of crypto we all thought he was, at least not yet. If he's got a poker face, it's the best one I've ever seen. Crypto wars, the Biden administration at war with itself over regulation. No one is entirely sure whether cryptocurrencies qualify as securities, commodities, or a separate currency. And that has become a big feud. People at the CFTC, widely considered by security lawyers to hold the most statutory authority to regulate crypto, say that Senator Warren has been quietly assisting the efforts of the SEC Chair Gary Gensler to become uber regulator of digital currencies, which they are obviously not a fan of over at the CFTC. It has now set off a major turf war inside the Biden administration between the SEC and the CFTC, who, by the way, have already declared XRP a cryptocurrency years ago, or a currency years ago, and not a security. So it is interesting that they just think they can do whatever they want at the SEC. And the other thing that's interesting is they're all Goldman vampires. Let's not be lost on that. Here are a couple short videos that I found that I thought were interesting. This talks about the crypto market rally despite the infrastructure bill challenges in the U.S. show that crypto is a global phenomenon. Listen to what they say.
I think that's truly fascinating. And I think it points to the fact that crypto is a global phenomenon. And so even if the world's only superpower, the U.S., is taking or about to take some adverse measures against the industry, and we hope, obviously, that it will be remedied through the reconciliation process between the House and the Senate, that investors and the market are thinking that there are still a lot of good things that are happening. Other jurisdictions are opening up more to crypto, and there's a lot of chatter about adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender in more countries. More institutional investors are getting into the space. So I think that the world is looking at it and say, look, this is not a US market, this is a global market, and overall things are looking optimistic.
Just remember, guys, Ripple, most of its business, about 95% of it takes place in the Asian corridor and not in the United States. So even with the SEC breathing down their neck, they don't have the ability to just shut Ripple down. They do have the ability to limit the trading capacity for us retail investors and other people here in the States, but they will not stop Ripple as a company. That's not an opinion, that is fact. This is an interesting article about former Goldman banker Gensler being Clinton's progressive beacon. And this is an old article from 2016, and I'm not going to cover it in great detail, but it basically goes on where he had met with Hillary. They had tea, apparently, and Elizabeth Warren had warned that when it comes to Wall Street, what matters most was the people Clinton surrounded herself with. Months later, as Clinton launched her presidential campaign, Gary Gensler, who had been a Goldman Sachs banker before becoming a senior policy aide, and Bob Rubin's protege during the deglutiatory years of Bill Clinton's Treasury Department, came on board in part to serve as a driving force behind her economic policy shop. Remarkably, Warren would be one of his strongest supporters. This is very interesting. I do suggest you guys take the time to read this. I will include the link in the description. Here is another video from Tom Emmer, who has really been trying to battle this crypto bill and stuff. I have really enjoyed what this guy has said most of the time. Let's go ahead and watch this video that he did.
Where I brought this up, and these people started laughing at me. And I said, you go ahead and laugh. You go ahead and laugh, because this is exactly the risk that we're looking at. And the people who want to be ignorant to it today, they're going to pay the price tomorrow. So I think myself and my colleagues, Republican and Democrat alike, by the way, that value our privacy, we're going to make sure that we not only stay involved in the discussion, Tony, but we're going to push back every step of the way when the government tries to take advantage. Because, look, people that are watching your podcast, people that are paying attention to what you and I are talking about, right now they already know. If the United States of America doesn't get its act together soon, if it doesn't start clarifying the rules of the road so they know what they're responsible for, what they're not responsible for, how they can operate. If we go down this Communist Party of China road where it can potentially be about data collection, guess what? They'll just take their opportunities elsewhere. And that's not what we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we should be driving innovation, not driving innovation offshore. This Representative Anna Eshoo has urged House Speaker Pelosi to amend the cryptocurrency broker language in the Senate's infrastructure bill. The legislation imposes new reporting requirements on miners, validators, and developers of wallets who would be unable to comply with these requirements. # don't kill crypto. I do suggest that you guys read this and start getting a little more involved. You should be contacting your senators and other local representatives, your congressmen, whoever it is. This is a big deal. They are picking winners and they are picking losers. And if they impose this legislation that's going to require all this consumer data collection and reporting from all these people who literally do not have the ability to do so, it is going to crush, in my opinion, about 85% of the crypto market, and you will have very few things left. And that is not good for innovation, period. To win in Washington, crypto needs a campaign strategy. The infrastructure bills show it is time for serious crypto activism. That means mapping out campaigns as a professional campaigner. We cannot simply tweet. We cannot simply post memes and talk to our friends and try to educate one another about what crypto is. We are getting to a point where action is going to need to be taken. I did see where Brad Kimes and Charles Hoskinsons from Cardano had both talked about potentially working together. I don't know if they said working together, but I did see 2 separate posts about organizing a rally in DC to try to get our voices heard. I live in Southwest Florida now, but I did reach out to both of them, and I told them that if this is something that does go forward as far as this rally goes, I will be in attendance. And I do urge everybody else to pay attention to that, and if this becomes a thing, we will peacefully unite and we will be heard. This is a big deal, guys. You know, you have a lot of people around the world who are going to let this stuff flourish, and if we continue to just shut it down, it is going to be very bad for that. I believe that the legacy systems and legacy politicians in our country, I believe they do not like the fact that crypto is the first chance we have ever had in our lifetimes in multiple generations to close this wealth gap and this status gap. And I honestly feel that that is a big part of it. They do not want to give up control. They do not want to give up their positions, and they want to keep a lot of us down where we are in our place, for lack of a better way of saying it. And I'm not with that at all. Here is a summary of the upcoming events in the SEC versus Ripple case. August 16th, Ripple's response to the SEC emergency motion for a discovery conference regarding their Slack communications, and any motion to seal exhibits will be filed with that motion. August 17th, the SEC's response to Ripple's motion for a discovery conference regarding the SEC's improper assertion of deliberative process privilege. August 31st, fact discovery deadline. October 15th, expert discovery deadline. So those are big. We are waiting for decisions regarding the following: whether the court will hold a telephone conference to discuss the discovery disputes regarding the deliberative process privilege and the Slack communications. We are waiting to see if the motion to intervene will be granted. And if you're not familiar with that, that is something that John Deaton started on behalf of the XRP community and the XRP investors who were harmed by the delisting of XRP due to the sudden lawsuit. The SEC's motion to strike Ripple's lack of due process and fair notice affirmative defense, which they will lose on. The individual defendant's motion to dismiss the SEC's First Amendment complaint, which I think is going to go very well. No argument dates have been set regarding the motion to intervene, the motion to dismiss, or the motion to strike. So this is the timeline that we are dealing with. I had that out of order from what I wanted to go with, but that is fine. I think this is a very important point. By attempting to tax crypto, the U.S. government has accepted it is here to stay. That is the silver lining in Congress's efforts to impose a tax on crypto transactions. The U.S. finally accepts crypto as part of its economy. They just want to delegate who and where and how that will go down, in my opinion. If the U.S. government thinks it's going to raise $28 billion in taxes from the crypto industry over the next 10 years, that means crypto is here to stay. Amen to that. Let's just hope we can keep it looking like it looks today somewhat, because they are really attempting to transform this thing into something else. The Financial Services Innovation Coalition is calling for an investigation of both Jay Clayton and William Hinman for potential conflicts of interest in one of the more shocking stories of greed and appearance of corruption coming from the Trump presidency. They were given no specific regulatory framework on how to treat cryptocurrencies, and the result was a free hand for Clayton and Hinman to pick winners and losers at whim, which opened the door for potential abuse and self-dealing. As regulators try to legitimately come to terms with the cryptocurrency industry, it is imperative that all parties feel the process is fair and well-reasoned. These serious allegations of improprieties deserve a clear vetting. Their stated mission is to focus the nation's attention on models of financial services innovation and to help enact regulatory policies that meet the credit needs of the underserved consumers. That's us, guys. Most of us, anyway. I'm not going to speak for everybody who tunes into this, but most of us. I am going to open this link up. I will include that in the description in case you guys want to read more on that article there. This says XRP price surges by 30%. Here's why it could surge 300 more. And it's really just talking about how it's the only altcoin in the top 10 to not have a new all-time high in this bull run. It made it to 196, and I believe its all-time high was more around 350 somewhere. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip. Or yeah, 384. I knew it was somewhere in that range. So I do agree with that. It is one of the only ones not to rage yet. XLM hasn't raged yet. There's a few of them that are just primed, man. Primed. XRP rises as GME joins RippleNet to expand remittances between South Korea and Thailand. So here you go, man. A lot of remittances going on. They continue to build on their business plan. I know there's those of you out there who I speak to on a regular basis that are still convinced XRP will never be used as a currency and wasn't intended to, and that they have no partners and no banks use them. You guys are full of something. So moving on from that, it's a good article though. It just shows more of expansion. And then I want to just show a couple videos from BitBoy, man. This is the biggest cryptocurrency channel on YouTube with over 1 million subscribers, who has been anti-XRP community for a long time. I don't want to say he's anti-XRP community, but he really kind of talked down about the XRP community and was really skeptical about any XRP good news whatsoever. And now the tide...
Do you think this company is scared of being getting cut down? No, nothing. Who runs this game? The banks. Who is Ripple working with? The banks. If you believe that the U.S. government is more powerful than the people who run the banks, you are clueless to how our world financial system works. The U.S. government is subservient to the central banks around the world, who are owned by a few entities. I would just say that. Very small amount of people that own most of this stuff. U.S. government subservient to them. So let's think about this. Ripple is making moves with banks around the world. These banks, SBI, Santander, not RBI. I can't remember what the other one was. We just looked at the one in Japan. Okay, I think that was SBI. There are all kinds of banks around the world that they're working with. Okay, I don't have the list right in front of me. These banks already know what's coming with Ripple. They already know they're getting a slap on the wrist. That's why they're working with these banks. These banks are working with Ripple while this lawsuit's going on because they know it's going to go nowhere. So we're looking at another bank here, another ODL partner for Ripple.
The world is a stage, folks. We all know that. Here is one last video before I get out of here. And this is where, and shout out to BitBoy for kind of swallowing a little bit of pride and admitting that he may have been wrong at one point. And I think he does it with a little humor at the end, which I can appreciate. Just watch this.
I'm going to say this every day probably when we talk about XRP. The key here is RippleNet. The key here are the products that Ripple is offering. XRP is integrated into that technology. People say, well, why can't you just create a software that all the banks can use together? It's very difficult. It's extremely difficult, and Ripple has solved that problem. It's solved. They're coming out with the products. XRP is now integrated in this. The banks slowly but surely are starting to use this. Something 2 years ago I would have told you was crazy. I thought the XRP was nuts. And be honest, y'all are a little nuts. Let's not nice words. Y'all are a little crazy. But guess what?
We like it.
So am I. Yeah. I'm going to say this.
I think you got to be a little bit crazy to survive in this space, guys. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter at TruePerception3. Make sure you like the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the fresh content that will be rolling out on the regular, because I am back in action. We are healthy. We survived. Yeah. And if you're into football, let's go, guys. Washington will play in the preseason game against New England tonight. They will be playing starters. We will be seeing Fitzmagic. We will be seeing Dynamic Brown. We will be seeing all the new guys. And I am fired up for it. So, yeah, I'm going to get off here and go pregame for this preseason game that doesn't really matter, because that's what I'm trying to do tonight. You guys have a good one, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.